Take 15. Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday. It is October the 20th. And this is your 2-minute thought with your boy, John Redmon. Y'all, today's topic is the heat is on. Let's jump into it. Got a question for you. Have you ever been asked by your friends to do something that you knew it was wrong? Hey, y'all, it's time for our daily gossip. Let's go talk about this person real quick. Let's go taunt them. Or let's go bully them over there. Looks like their smile is too big today. Let's go give them a bad day real quick. Let's go steal their shoes. Take their lunch money. Hide the backpack. Or let's bring it home. How about being told by your parents to participate in something that you knew was illegal and against the law? Go smuggle that real quick. Make some dollars from your friends at school. Go and give that dude what he wants. You got the body. Go ahead. We need to eat this week. Do what you need to do. Shut up and go do it. Let's take it to the workplace. What about your employer requiring you to engage in something that was unethical? How do you feel? You're nervous. You're scared. You're shaking, you're sweating because the heat is on. You don't want to stand up and speak against it because everyone else is conforming. They're okay with it. They're doing it. You don't want to be reprimanded. You don't want to be taunted. Even worse, you don't want to be fired. What do? The heat is on. Let me encourage you. Turn to Daniel chapter 3. Let me tell you a story. In Daniel chapter 3, there is this king by the name of Nebuchadnezzar. And he made an image of gold. And he made a declaration along with that image that every nation, every tongue, every kindred, every people, when they heard music played, they were required to bow down and worship this image. And if they didn't worship this image, they would be thrown into the fire. The heat is on. So what happened? The music sounded. It was the sound of a horn, a flute, a zither, a lyre, a harp, a pipe, and all kinds of music began to play. And all the people from every nation, tongue, kindred, people bowed down and worshiped this idol of gold, this image of gold made with man's hands. All worshiped except 3. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And the king got word that these 3, when everybody else is bowing, they stood erect and unapologetic. Word got back to the king. Starting with verse 9, some astrologers came forward and denounced them and ran back to the king and said, "Hey, king, may you live forever. Your majesty, you know that you've issued this decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipe, and all kinds of music must fall down and worship the image of the gold, right? And whosoever does not fall down and worship will be thrown into a blazing fire furnace, right? But there are some Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These brothers work for the king. But, king, these brothers don't listen to anything you have to say. They are ignoring you. They pay no attention to your declaration. They neither serve your gods nor worship the image of gold you have set up. The Bible says in verse 13 The king was furious. Nebuchadnezzar summoned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And the Bible says, so these men were brought before the king, and Nebuchadnezzar said to them, is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods nor worship the image of gold that I, with my own hands, have set up? Now, I'm going to give you a second chance. When you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipe, and all kinds of music, if you are ready to fall down and worship the image that I made, very good for you. But if you do not worship, you will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand? Oh, the heat is on. Verse 16 says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they opened up their mouth and they replied to him. They said, King Nebuchadnezzar, King James Version says this, we are not careful to answer thee. But look what the other versions say in regard to this, their statement. They said, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. Or, I like the other versions that say, we have no need to answer you in this matter. Now, wait a minute. This is the king they're talking to, or think about the president of your territory that you're talking to. They went on and said in verse 17, guess what, king? If we are thrown into that blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it. Boom. And he will deliver us from your majesty's hand. 18. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of God of gold that you have set up. Then the Bible says, 19, Nebuchadnezzar was furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and his attitude toward them changed. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual and commanded some of the strongest soldiers in his army to tie up Shadrach, don't get me excited, to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So the Bible says, so these men wearing their robes, trousers, turbans, and other clothes were bound up and thrown into the blazing furnace. But you know what I believe? I believe they didn't go in there quietly. I believe Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they start having their own worship service. I could hear them singing a song that came from Proverbs 18:10. It says, the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and they are safe. I can hear them singing, blessed be the name of the Lord. Hey, oh, they might have been bound, but I can see them walking and praising, and they weren't shutting up. They were going on getting their praise on together. They were having their praise session. Hey, while going into the fire. The name of the Lord is a strong tower that the righteous run into, and they are safe. Hey! Into the fire we go. But we going with praise. We going with worship. We'll let y'all worship y'all's God out there made of gold. But we're going to worship the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Hey! Oh, but what happened? What happened? The Bible says in verse 24, The king Nebuchadnezzar leaped to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, weren't there 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire? They replied, certainly, your majesty. He said, well, look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed. But wait, the 4th one looks like the Son of God. Wait a minute, what happened? How did Jesus get into the fire? Well, look what Matthew says. Matthew chapter 18 verse 20 says, for where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there am I with them. Jesus, did you forget that you were not supposed to appear into the New Testament? You done jumped out of heaven, done jumped from the future, went back in time to their present to join them in the fire because they decided that they were going to be gathered in his name, even in the fire. Hey! Jesus showed up in the Old Testament and totally forgot he was supposed to be just appearing incarnate in the New. What am I telling you? Baby, when the heat is on, get to your knees. Get to your worship stance. Open up your mouth and start magnifying and praising and glorifying the name of the Lord, which is a strong tower that you can run into even today and be safe. And guess what you're going to do? You're going to wind up doing what? Walking in the fire. When the heat is turned up, turn up your praise.